Okay, here we go. Next speakers up, we have two, which is exciting. We have two speakers, Denny and Susan Waxman. They're going to be telling us all about macrobiotic diet. Denny is an acclaimed speaker, counselor, and founder of the SHI Macrobiotics. He's been a macrobiotic counselor since the 1970s. So we have a lot of wealth of years of knowledge and experience to share with us. And like our last speaker, they're also going to advocate moving towards a lot of plants in your diet. So get ready for that. We're going to ask them more. Denny teaches globally and is the author of Complete Macrobiotic Diet and the Ultimate Guide for Eating for Longevity. And honestly, that's what caught me. When I saw that book, I was like, I want to see what they have to share with us on longevity. And then Susan Waxman is the co-author of these books and is really the culinary expert. So I'm excited to get some recipes and information about how we can actually incorporate these foods in our diet and make tasty meals so that we're not depriving ourselves, we're actually enjoying what we're eating. So in any case, here we go. I'm just doing the last of this. Yes, merging health with taste. That's what we want to do. So without further ado, thank you so much for being here, Denny and Susan Waxman. Let's all give sign language round of applause to Denny and Susan. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Emily.
Welcome. So,
hi.
Yes, let's see if we can make sure we can hear. Ah, that's my bad. Excuse me. Here we go. Awesome. Welcome. And I'm curious, can you just tell us, because some people might have heard about macrobiotics for forever, because it's not a new thing, but some people, that word macrobiotic, what does that mean? And can you explain how you use it and what that diet is?
Okay, we both like to answer that, but I'll start out. So the way I see macrobiotics is that it's an orderly approach to diet, eating, and lifestyle. So it's a system that enables us to make healthy choices within our overall diet, within our activity and overall lifestyle practices. And George Osawa is the founder of modern day macrobiotics, and his real goal wasn't health. His goal was world peace, which I think is very appropriate today. So the basic idea was that healthy, happy people create healthy, happy families, which in turn create healthy, happy societies, communities, and eventually the world. So the idea is that what we do for ourselves in macrobiotics radiates outwards to others, to society, to the planet itself. And of course, it's kind to animals because we don't advocate eating animals. So that's in essence the way I see it. But,
I love that, because I just want to interject. That's we have overt goals and covert goals, I think, with everything we do. You know, my covert goal, like what I'm sharing with everybody, is let's be happy and healthy individuals. But my underlying goal is exactly what you just said. Like the more we're healthy, the more we're happy, the more we bring to our families, the more we bring to the world. So I absolutely love that. And everybody now knows I'm outed. That is actually my real driving intention behind Longevity Power.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was my turn yet. Yeah, everything that he says, I mean, Denny put that so beautifully. And really, you know, when I first started studying and learning about macrobiotics, I learned a more simple kind of definition, which is the word macro means large, and bios, it comes from the term macrobios, means life. So literally like life according to the larger view. So as Denny says, I'm echoing, you're not just living for yourself, but you're living towards the larger view and the bigger picture. So putting like the small affects the large, and so on and so on. And then I would describe the macrobiotic diet in and of itself as the most well thought out of all the plant-based diets, because we because we include grains, beans, all kinds of vegetables, all kinds of different types of cuisines. We include fermented foods and all kinds of things that really lead to lasting health, you know, like on all levels, emotional, spiritual, physical, and you can't really separate one from the other.
Great. So can you tell us what are the major tenets if we were going to follow a macrobiotic diet?
Well, the interesting thing is, if you go to Wikipedia, where many people go, it says the lead line is Macrobiotics is a fad diet. And the reality is, it might be the only way of eating that's not, because it's based on the pattern of all of the world's longest standing civilizations, because they all had exactly the same eating pattern. Their diets are all based on grains, beans, and vegetables, seeds, nuts, and fruits, with naturally fermented foods and mild beverages. And that's the same everywhere from Asia to Europe to Africa. The pattern was actually the same in all places, interestingly enough. And then each area had their own grains, like bread, is the staff of life in Europe, or corn for the Americas. Britain, the Irish are known for oats, things of that nature. Italy is pasta and rice. So Georgia saw this pattern and basically codified it as the so-called macrobiotic diet, which is adjusted to each locality. And that's really our specialty. I think
I don't really have much to add about that. That was, again, just very, very well put.
Good. So I have a question about the locality. What is, we actually have some people registered here that are in Europe and other places, but I think the majority of us are in North America. So what does that mean for us?
We both can.
The important thing is really latitude, where we live. So basically, if we live in a temperate climatic region, we should choose things that have originated in the same or similar region, east or west, because the climate doesn't change much, but north and south it does. So basically, tropical foods are wonderful for the tropics, but they don't translate well to a temperate region.
And if I might add to that, so basically, macrobiotic cooking and eating is actually a study of foods and their energetic properties. So basically, when you choose foods that are in line with where you live or your environment, you're choosing things to really support your life there. So for example, when you're in a cooler climate, then you need things to preserve your energy and keep you warmer. Differently than when you're in a warmer climate, then you need things to cool yourself off, but not lose too many minerals so that you're losing energy. So that's a very brief explanation about that, but really that's what you're doing. You're choosing foods really to choose and enhance a special quality of energy so that you can live your life to your fullest.
Right. So in addition to that, what it really does, it ties our way of eating to the locality where we live, not where we're from, where we live, so that we have a more full connection with our natural environment.
You answer my question. Thank you. So it's not where we were born, but where we are currently living.
Right.
Exactly.
Awesome. Good.
Or going, when you travel to the tropics, then enjoy tropical foods. You go to the far north, your diet changes.
So how much fruit do you all eat? Well, let's tell people where you live first. What region are you living in?
Philadelphia area.
Right. So a little cold in the winter, a little hot in the summer. So how do you incorporate, for example, because I know when I lived in a more tropical region for a long time, and there is a ton of fruit there, but we actually have access to that fruit. I live in California. We have stuff all year round here, right? So I'm curious, how much fruit do you all incorporate in your diet, and does that change in the seasons?
To answer.
Okay.
So basically, Denny and I actually like to shop at local farmers markets and purchase things that are grown more locally. So really, you're just following the pattern of the growth pattern of different fruits and vegetables and that. I mean, now, of course, you can get vegetables from different places all year round, but so berries come into the season. First berries that come into the season would be strawberries. And that's the end of May, early part of June. Then that transitions, and then you have overlap and blueberries and blackberries and things like that. then later certain different tree fruits, apricots and plums. And then you have like melons, and melons really aren't as delicious until, at least here on the East Coast, till like maybe like the end of July. And watermelon is like the most delicious in July, like August. So you're just like following that pattern basically. So then as the weather cools, apples, which can be stored really well, or pears that can also store and hold like over the winter, because traditionally things were kept in cold cellars. So things like that would be more or less like what you would eat during the cool months, or also tangerines are a tempered fruit, and so are oranges. And then, you know, like fresh grapes too. So we kind of just like transition to those particular things. And sometimes, you know, like it could be like a raw apple or a raw pear, or you know, cooked fruit, which is also really delicious with like different sauces, balsamic reduction and things.
Yes, we want to hear some recipes. We definitely want to hear some recipes. So just continue on this fruit thing, because we hear different things about fruit, and it's something we've been talking about with our other speakers. Like how much of fruit is your diet, and how much do you do protein, how much fat, how much carbs, etc. Can you give us a layout of your macros?
Basically, what we recommend is relatively an equal portion of grains and vegetables. So basically, throughout the day, grains, beans, and vegetables are relatively equal. Then all other foods, essentially the other 25%. So we eat a lot more fruit in the summer than the winter. But in our approach to macrobiotics, excuse me, most people have fruit on a daily basis, but generally one serving a day.
Okay.
So the other foods are multiple servings. Fruits are generally one.
Cool. And another I have two more hot topics that, there's controversy on. The first one is on protein. So you all are asking for or advocating a more plant-based diet. And how does the protein compare plant protein to animal protein, and how much protein do we need?
Okay, plant foods provide the exact amount of protein we need for optimal health and activity. Now, we've been taught that animal and dairy protein are actually superior, but I look at it in a different way. If we eat plants, grains, beans, and vegetables, we're getting firsthand protein, the same protein a cow uses, to build its body. Then, if you eat an animal, then you're eating an animal that ate those same plants you would have been eating. And in the conversion, they're making a lot of toxification. So it's really secondhand protein. Then, if we're going to dairy food, it's the next generation. So it's actually third generation or third quality of protein. And the interesting thing, and Colin Campbell wrote the foreword to our book, and he did the China study, which I think is, after our book, or together our book, the most important book, because
Let's say that again. What's the book?
The China study, because he reached the same conclusions from science and research that we did from history and human experience. And according to Colin Campbell's research, dairy food is the most carcinogenic food on the planet, which, so to me, it makes perfect sense. So I couldn't tell you how much protein we need. I just know it's ideal.
Okay, so we're seeing a theme on this no dairy thing today.
What I was going to add is in the macrobiotic diet within specific dishes, so you're actually overlapping different proteins. Okay. So there are a number of plant-based foods that are considered to be like complete proteins. So soy would be a complete protein. So you have like soy in the terms of tofu is actually considered that. And then also soybeans. So we do use soybeans. We use yellow soybeans. We use black soybeans, but then edamame too. So there's certain dishes and the sea vegetables too, which we use plenty of within the macrobiotic diet, like in different soups or to make different stocks. Generally, when we cook our beans, we cook them together with a small piece of kombu or kelp. And that helps like make the beans softer and more digestible. So we're really like overlapping a lot of different foods that I think just like bring out more of the nutritious qualities. So you're not just getting like a protein aspect, but you're getting like these unique minerals that you're not really going to find anywhere else, especially when you're taking, you know, like a sea vegetable. And then we have actual sea vegetable dishes too that can be combined with like, for example, arame seaweed or hijiki seaweed, which is a different type of seaweed too that you find in a lot of Japanese restaurants. If you combine that with vegetables and add tofu to that, or add like edamame to that, you know, not only does it make the dish really pretty and colorful because there's different colors going on there, but it's again an overlap of different proteins. So my feeling is that like the more physically active you are, so I'm quite physically active, I do a lot of different movement things, I think then, you know, like I like to include a lot more protein. So we eat nuts regularly too. Both Denny and I do that. And then also, as you age, people as they age also need to increase the amount of protein that you eat. But really, it's not an issue because we eat beans and bean products and like all these other things. It's really quite abundant in macrobiotics.
Yeah. And also, I'd like to just add on to that. So if you have a physically demanding lifestyle, if you're into working out or sports, there are ways to just increase your protein, plant protein. And it's, you know, it's also very, very strengthening. People think that animal protein is much more strengthening, but I don't think so, especially for endurance. Plant protein definitely has the edge.
Actually, I have one more thing to add. What's unique too about the foods that we choose in the cooking styles is that not only are you getting like a lot of nutrition there and a lot of good trace minerals, but the foods that we choose and would emphasize for a very active person or somebody that's really like into sports and stuff, increase flexibility. Right. So they actually help like protect the muscles, protect the ligaments. They don't cause swelling in the joints or things like that. So there's just like so many benefits. It's just like we could go on and on. Mm-hmm. And kids too. If you look at macrobiotic children, their bone structure is like much bigger, and their muscles, they're solid. You pick a macrobiotic kid up, you know what you're doing.
Wonderful. So I love this idea that you all had about adding rather than subtracting food. Can you share more about what that means? Because, you know, sometimes people are like, you know, I don't want to give this up, right? Whatever it is for them.
Right. Well, macrobiotics, I think, is presented more on what not to do than what to do. And because I didn't really start for health reasons, I started for philosophical, spiritual reasons. I never had that approach. For me, it was an adventure, finding new foods, new dishes, combinations. So at one point, it occurred to me that if you do something that's based on a positive, it's never ending. You can do it for a lifetime, which means adding. The second thing, the point you just brought up, no one wants to give anything up. Life is about increasing, about growing. So our approach is how to add healthy things into our diet, activity, and lifestyle, and in essence, change the percentage of healthy to unhealthy. So you start out 10% healthy, then you're down to 90% unhealthy, 28, 30, 70, and so forth. And the other thing that's connected with that is health craves health. So the more healthy things you add, the more healthy things you want to add. And that's our experience. We base everything on that, whether it's, you know, just getting started or cooking. And I'm sure Susan has some things to add into that.
Not adding? No, I think you covered that pretty well.
Awesome. So if I was going to add, you know, something like, give us a couple like top ads. Like,
I can answer that
yes.
part.
Yeah.
So with every meal, you want to plan them around a grain or a grain product. So even
please go ahead, Susan.
So it could be like there's a lot of different grains or grain products. There's like rice, and when we have brown rice, we actually recommend cooking that together with another grain. So you could cook brown rice together with barley, or you could cook it together with bulgur wheat, hatumugi barley, which is a different type of barley, farro. There's a number of ways you can just like change things in that. But brown rice, that's the most balanced of the cereal grains, but there's like a whole lot of other grains too. Like we don't really limit ourselves. We enjoy things like couscous. We do enjoy like bulgur salads. We enjoy pasta. We enjoy noodles. We really just like enjoy cuisines from around the world. So I would just like, polenta, sourdough bread. I would just like look at the grain list and see what appeals to you the most. Like what catches your eyes and what says like, oh, like, hey, like I want to include this. And then vegetables. It's really important to like start including vegetables, and probably, I think like leafy green vegetables. And most people think that kale is the wonderful, like the wonder food. We like Napa or Chinese cabbage the best, and bok choy because they're more refreshing. They're more juicy. So you have that like solid white stem. So if I was going to choose a vegetable, I would probably choose like one of those greens.
Great.
But not only foods, we also advocate, for example, sitting down to eat without doing other things to really connect with our food. So for some people, that's a good starting place. For others, walking outside for a half hour a day. For others, just green plants at home. So there are multiple points of entry. And what we emphasize, no amount is too little. You can't do too little. The important thing is just start on the process and go at your own pace.
Actually, a great way to start is the body rub. And I think
yes, that's going to be
that giveaway.
Yes, we'll be talking about the body rub, which is interesting because I love, and don't know, I've heard about macrobiotic eating for decades, but I'm no expert, which is why y'all are here. But I love this, what you're talking about is like this more holistic approach. Like it's a way of being, not just a way of eating. Is that true?
Exactly. That's it. Yes.
And so even like if we're not changing diet, changing the walk, or even being more mindful while we're eating, et cetera, is all part of macrobiotics. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I love this also because the idea of adding versus subtracting, there's so many things we can do, and we can't do them all. I feel like sometimes it's a little overwhelming to do them all. And going back, we've heard this themes throughout our couple days together, breathing, de-stressing, and being mindful, etc. These are all really beautiful things we can add in. And I never knew that there was a quote unquote diet that was saying like, hey, this is a way of living and being. Is there anything else that like in that is unexpected? Yes, Susan, please.
What I might want to add is saying thank you. Being grateful for your food. It really changes the energetic quality. It's putting that vibration out there. So being thankful for, like how you got that food, whoever prepared that food, whoever grew that food. That's so important. And it's really important to, like to practice that, like routinely before you eat. And like, if you have children, teach your children to be thankful for what they have and for the food that they're about to receive. So that's important.
That's beautiful. That is really beautiful. We have a question coming in, which is a fantastic question. Thank you for your question. And can you clarify? So we talked about eating local, but what about the seaweed? The seaweed's coming from somewhere else, et cetera, or the grains might be coming from somewhere else. Can you speak more into just clarifying that for us?
Well, grains can be eaten anywhere, basically, in any type climatic zone. They're the most adaptable food on the planet. But we're basically choosing east and west, as I've said. So from here, Philadelphia, about 39 degrees north. So we can go to Valencia, we can go to Lisbon, or we can go to Kyoto. We can go anywhere around the world in that temperate region.
Okay.
And for foods from the sea, then it's anywhere in the same hemisphere. Because when you go to the southern hemisphere, the magnetic charge changes. But every seaweed that we eat, so we live in Philadelphia close to the Jersey Shore, you can harvest them there. I wouldn't recommend it because of the pollution, but
Maine.
in Maine, where they have strong currents and cleaner water, you can get them from there.
Yeah, there's a good company.
Okay.
So there's lots of places.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
should.
I was
Sorry.
gonna say, and basically the way you might want to change that is, so like, like when you're in the cooler climate or the farther north you go, then you stick to like, like medium grain types of rice, or even like, farther north or shorter grain type of rice. We choose medium grain rice mainly. And you can still choose things like barley, like oatmeal, whether it's rolled oats or steel cut oats, polenta, all kinds of different grains, couscous, bulgur. And then like in the more southern hemisphere, where corn could be grown, like more year round. Like here we eat corn when it's in season, and it's hard to get like otherwise, especially, like with the genetic modification of things, we don't advocate that at all. But like in certain climates, corn's just like a staple, and you can get that, and you could get like, corn tortillas and things. So like the farther south, then you would choose more, and in hotter climates, more of a long grain rice.
Okay.
So it's just like more relaxed energy as opposed to something that's like a little bit more compact, if that answers that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to add on to that, if I may. So Georgia Sell fashioned macrobiotics after the diet of Japanese monks because they had a history of health and longevity. And also, many of them were actually warriors. They either warriors or athletes. So they not only had health and longevity, but they had incredible vitality. They had the same pattern as everyone else, except with two additions: soy products, miso, natural soy sauce, tofu, tempeh, and seaweed. So, and Japan today still has the greatest health and longevity of any country, following the same pattern with the addition of soy products and seaweed. So they are unique. And in addition to that, I used to travel a lot. And what I discovered that all coastal people and all island people historically ate seaweed. They used it in agriculture and as part of their diet. So, for example, all of Northern Europe did, all of the UK. So it's not only Japan.
Lake weeds, river weeds.
Yeah, even in Africa, they and Southeast Asia, lake and river weed. So it has a long history, but it's one of those foods that basically started, disappeared after the Industrial Revolution.
Okay, that's interesting. What's also interesting to me, we were talking about, like where countries where people live longer. You'll see like Japan and the blue zones, et cetera, and they can have very different diets, but there are some commonalities between them, which macrobiotics also follows. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
We're talking about eating for longevity.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah, the same eating pattern, which is consistent with modern science because all the foods are prebiotics, fiber foods, and then we have a variety of probiotics, naturally fermented foods, and that's the ideal combination for health and longevity. But the other things that are common, because they all had strong families and communities, and macrobiotics is very much easier to practice in a family. They also had a lot of contact with nature. They also had holidays and celebrations. Gratitude, appreciation was part of their lifestyle. So all of these things really were common throughout the world up until recently, and part of macrobiotics.
Yes, community, right? Community. So community is fantastic and I love it, but I want to rewind into what you said about, because prebiotics and probiotics, right? We haven't had anybody talk about prebiotics yet. We've had a lot of fibrous food conversation. And can you define and articulate a little bit more about prebiotics and probiotics?
Okay, so prebiotics are fiber, the food for probiotics to grow on. And the main sources of prebiotics are grains, beans, vegetables, seeds, nuts, and fruits. Then, in addition to that, we have resistant starches, which come from grains, beans, and starchy vegetables, which are beneficial actually when they sit. So, for example, beans are tastier the next day, but they're also healthier because the starch changes, becomes resistant starch. So it's the fiber resistant starch that's food for the probiotics, naturally fermented foods to grow on. And that's the combination that, because it's front and back, they complete each other, it becomes self-sustaining. And the fiber and the resistant starch are the foods that keep our digestive system the most clean and healthy. So you're creating an overall environment. Then when you introduce these naturally fermented foods, especially a variety, then you have the ideal combination for health and longevity. Yes.
Nice. Nice. And maybe Susan, you can help us. I wanted to get a recipe or whatever you're inspired to share with us, but I also want to ask you, I make my own sauerkraut and I have tried
yum.
fermenting other things. What's that? Don't?
I said, no, yum. I said,
Oh,
yum.
good. Yeah. I was like, no.
I said,
So,
oh, yum.
I have found sauerkraut to be very easy to make.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious if you can share, you know, because we can buy fermented foods off the shelves, but that's not necessarily the same as making it at home. Is that right?
It depends on how well it's made. Like we're actually fortunate right here. I've made sauerkraut too, but I don't do that on a regular basis. I used to make a lot of other different types of pickles as well, because we have two companies here that are readily available to us. They make like a fantastic kimchi and a fantastic sauerkraut. And it's, you know, like, so it's like kind of easy for us to buy that. But if you can't buy something good, like, because I mean, the advantage to making your own is that you can choose the vegetables that you're doing, okay, and you can choose the salt. So you have much more control over that. You can choose a better quality salt, because sea salts are not all created equal. There are some that are much better than others. And in fact, there's one that we recommend over a lot of others that comes out of California, actually. SI, it's called SI sea salt, SI, so sea salt.
Okay.
And it comes from the Baja Peninsula there. So that's
Okay.
the one that we recommend the most. It's kind of a more mild sea salt, as in not as drying, but really has a lot of great trace minerals. And I don't know if anything to add to that. It blends easy. It blends really easy, because some other sea salts, they don't blend as easy, which you would know if you're making sauerkraut, because do you just tamper it, or do you actually like blend it and mix it with your fingers as well?
I've done both.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to go to the store and buy a sauerkraut or a kimchi or a pickle, what would I be looking for to know that it's got those probiotics in it and it's alive and good?
Raw
Yeah.
and organic.
Okay.
And the third is locally grown.
Okay.
So as Susan said, we have some companies around here that qualify for that, the raw, organic, and locally sourced vegetables. So, you know, we could make them, but they do an excellent job. So,
Right.
And you can open the lid. You're going to get that sometimes, because like when basically, you know, you might have a little bit of a sound when you open it. So like the juice of sauerkraut and kimchi is also really helpful, and provides a lot of good, like, nutrients, and helps aid digestion. That's so, you know, like, don't just discard the juice. Give it a little bit of a sip.
Yeah. And do you make your own yogurt or kefir or kombucha or any of these other ideas?
I'm not a kombucha fan.
To make it or to drink it for health?
Either way.
Okay.
Either way. I've had it already. I've had some homemade kombucha, and it's just, you know, like kind of not my thing, so to speak. Kefir and yogurt would be considered like a dairy product. So, you know, like I don't really do anything like that either. I pretty much stick to, well, we have sourdough bread. Okay, that's considered a fermented product. Miso, which we have like fairly regularly. We'll make a soup, a very brothy like miso soup. Shoyu, which is naturally fermented soy sauce. Then we have different vinegars too. So there's a very unique vinegar that we have called Umeboshi Vinegar. And it's made from this Japanese pickled plum. So it's the only savory vinegar that I know of that exists. And it's red in color. And you can make very nice like pickles out of that by diluting it with water and slicing different vegetables thin, like white vegetables go really nice there, or radishes, or even purple cabbage, because like the purple cabbage gets more purple and then you get the little stripe where the white is of like this pink. So they're very pretty and looks nice even at a party or something. But trying to think of what other things. Then we have brown rice vinegar, apple cider vinegar. I like balsamics sometimes, depending, and I like the more aged balsamics. So there's really quite an abundance of fermented food that we have pretty regularly. And then that Umaboshi Plum, it's a pickled plum, and it's a very special source of fermentation. It was originally an apricot, and they're wrapped in the beefsteak plant or perillo plant that's been salted and then aged. So very beneficial for digestion and for strengthening the blood quality. So we eat a little bit of that raw with grains.
Okay, awesome. This is all amazing. We got one last question. What about apple cider vinegar? Because some people are really into apple cider vinegar. What do y'all think about like doing shots or combining it with your salad dressing, etc.?
I like it in dressings. I'm not a fan. Like we change our vinegars, Denny and I, and then sometimes we'll dress something with the savory vinegar, olive oil, and a little bit of citrus. So we don't use apple cider vinegar every day. And you can actually lose minerals by drinking cider vinegar because it disperses heat and energy.
Okay.
It usually makes you urinate too.
Yeah, the way everything is about interaction and context. So that's why we recommend a grain and separate vegetable dish with every meal. Fermentation, you get the most value out of fermentation when it's part of a meal. So think about wine. Wine with a meal is different than just drinking a glass of wine, right? So it's the same thing with fermentation. We use apple cider vinegar in food preparation rather than just drinking it.
Okay.
And I think that brings out the beneficial qualities of everything.
We enjoy wine fermentation. The fermented grape, we enjoy that as well.
Wonderful. So this is so much like food information. I want to remind everybody that if you want to learn more about macrobiotics and the recipes and how to create this lifestyle for yourself, the ultimate guide to eating for longevity, right? And it has recipes in it. Am I correct about that, Susan?
Oh,
your
oh my gosh. Yeah, a lot of recipes.
Okay.
And two meal plans in the back too, 2 10-day meal plans. One's like if maybe somebody's trying to recover their health or just like has like any type of issues, or, if you want to do that, that's a little bit more serious menu. And then the other plan is more for like relaxed, for like family and friends and, for people that are just like beginning. And you could just like pick any of those things and maybe even just like choose like one of those meals. All the recipes are in the meal plan or in the book too. So
yeah, I think you'll find that it's a really common sense, a practical, doable approach to both eating and activity, lifestyle, and cooking all together. So that's the feedback we get.
Awesome. They also have other programs where you can learn and get trained in this on their website. So please, Justina's dropping the link from the website. If you're interested, you can go and check out more. And they have a lovely training for us, a free gift. It's called the Body Rub. And so it's not about food. We're transitioning. And the link is going up online. You can go onto YouTube and watch this video. And just quickly tell us what is I watched the video, so I know what it is. We're gently, softly rubbing the body with a cloth. You all can see the instructions, but I would love, Denny, can you tell us the benefits of this body rub?
There's a number of them. First of all, it activates your circulation, blood, lymph, and any energy circulation very effectively. And the reason we say gently, it actually penetrates much more deeply for lymph and energetic circulation. Second, your skin is literally a third kidney. It's a major excretory organ. It does the same thing as your kidneys to clean your body. After years of unhealthy foods, it gets clogged, can't work. The hot damp cloth and gentle pressure opens your pores so your skin can start to work again. So it really takes a load off your kidneys, lungs, and intestines, helps everything work much better. Plus, our first line of immunities in our skin. We have lymphocytes, which is so important now. And, I see all these people using sanitizer, and it kind of concerns me because then we're destroying a very important part of our microbiome, which is on our skin. That's why people, use their hands or stomp on grapes. So basically, the body rub activates this microbiome on your skin as well.
Awesome.
And there are others, but that's what comes
Yes.
to mind quickly.
Thank you so much for that gift. And so you can check it out in the link there, and we'll also be posting, of course, the links into the emails, and they'll be on the website, and underneath the bios, all the speakers. You can see their links and get in contact with them and get your free gifts. Thank you so much, Susan and Denny, for being here. It's been such a pleasure, and I'm really excited because I'm learning new things today, and I'm really happy to hear about food and lifestyle all being a holistic approach to our nutrition, which is a really beautiful concept. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you
This
for
is
having
wonderful.
us. Yes.
Thank you for inviting us.
So lovely. And
Thank you.
thanks to everybody for sticking on the line and being here with us. We're going to take another short little bio break, and we're going to be shifting gears for the rest of the afternoon. We're going to go away from diet, which we're doing all morning, and we're going to go into mindset. And the next speaker up, I'm super excited about, David Mokel, and he's going to talk to us about living a hearty life. And he's got a beautiful, amazing story to share with us. And he's an incredible human being. So stay tuned for that. Let's take a short bio break, and please be thinking about what's working for you, what you want to incorporate. And I would love to hear your feedback in the chat, in Facebook, over email. Please share what you're learning with us. So thank you again, Susan and Denny, for being here. Susan and Denny Waxman, it's been a pleasure. And let's have a short break, everybody. Go ahead and fortify your bodies, and we'll come back strong.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Emily. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.